A pretty important part flew off the side of an airplane at 16,000 feet. Everyone survived, but this was not supposed to happen. Hi there, everyone. It's Jeff. And yeah, this was not supposed to happen. Can you imagine? You're sitting on an airplane, minding your own business, and then a hole opens up in the side of the plane. Yikes. Anyway, this is Plain English, where we help you upgrade your English with stories about current events and trending topics. You get to hear about, think about, and talk about what's going on in the world, all in English, your new language. That's what we do here. And then, as a special bonus, we also show you how to use common English expressions. Today's expression is going to be turn around. That's coming up in the second half of the episode. This is episode 648, so that means JR has uploaded the full transcript and all the lesson resources to plainenglish.com/648. With that out of the way, let's get going on today's story. A loud bang is not a sound you expect to hear on a flight, but that's exactly what passengers heard on Alaska Airlines Flight 1292 on Friday, January 5th. About 20 minutes into a short flight from Portland to Ontario, California, passengers heard what sounded like an explosion. The plane dropped a little in altitude, and the oxygen masks fell from the overhead compartments. A part of the fuselage had blown off the side of the plane at an altitude of 16,000 feet, or about 4,900 meters. Passengers seated near row 26 looked out on a huge hole in the side of the plane. Passengers seated elsewhere had no idea what was going on, but they knew it wasn't good. Air pressure immediately dropped inside the cabin. Loose belongings were sucked out of the plane. A teddy bear, a cell phone. The whoosh of air ripped the shirt off a 15-year-old boy. The boy himself would have been sucked out of the plane had he not been wearing his seatbelt. The pilot radioed air traffic control, reporting the loss in pressure. He calmly descended and turned the plane around. The plane made an emergency landing in Portland, Oregon, just a few minutes later. Incredibly, nobody was seriously injured. It helps that nobody was sitting in the row with the hole, but clearly this could have been so much more serious. How could this have happened? It helps to take a closer look at the aircraft itself. The plane was a brand new Boeing 737 MAX 9. It had been delivered to Alaska Airlines only in October 2023 and placed into service the next month. The 737 MAX is a mid-sized plane that airlines use for their most popular domestic routes. The fuselage is the body of the plane. Planes are customizable even within the same model. Some airlines configure the MAX 9 with over 200 seats. If they do that, they need an additional emergency exit door. The standard fuselage has a hole where that door could go. But Alaska configured its MAX 9s with about 190 seats, so the extra door wasn't needed. Instead, they had a door plug in that hole. To passengers, row 26 looked just like any other row, but a door plug filled the hole in the fuselage where an emergency door could have gone. The plug is the part that blew off the plane mid-air and landed in someone's backyard. After the incident, the American Federal Aviation Administration grounded all 737 MAX 9s and began an investigation. Attention quickly turned to two companies, Boeing, the plane maker, and Spirit AeroSystems, the manufacturer of the body. It might come as a surprise that Boeing didn't make the fuselage, the body of the plane, but it's not that unusual. Modern jet airplanes might have parts and systems made from 1,000 suppliers or more. These suppliers are smaller companies that you've probably never heard of. The jet engines, the windows, the wings, the electronics, the landing gear, they might all be made by different subcontractors. Spirit AeroSystems is just one of those many suppliers, and Spirit was in charge of the fuselage and the door plug. Spirit is based in Wichita, Kansas, and it also supplies Airbus, Bombardier, Sikorsky helicopters, and other private plane manufacturers. So both Boeing and Spirit will be subject to the FAA's investigation. Both companies say they are cooperating fully. The FAA will investigate the manufacturing processes and safety procedures of both companies, and the agency is increasing its oversight of Boeing's current production lines. The FAA may order a third party to audit manufacturing safety at Boeing. Boeing is still making new units of this model. Meanwhile, investigators are also taking a detailed look at what happened on Alaska Airlines Flight 1292. They have a few clues to work with. First, in the weeks prior to the incident, a cockpit warning light had gone on, alerting pilots to low cabin pressure. Alaska couldn't find the source of the warning, but as a precaution, they had restricted the MAX 9s to flights over land only. Second, investigators recovered the door plug. The 28-kilogram part was found in the backyard of a local science teacher. Metallurgists will be examining the part to determine what specific parts failed in the moments before the incident. For now, the MAX 9 remains grounded in the U.S. Regulators in other countries, including the EU, have followed suit. Airlines had to cancel flights and substitute older planes for the MAX 9s for the time being. If the name Boeing 737 MAX rings a bell, it's because it was involved in a few terrible plane crashes a few years back, one in Indonesia and one in Ethiopia. We talked about it in lesson 133. Plain English lesson 333 came out on January 28th, 2001. We talked about how the 737 MAX was allowed to fly again after having been grounded for 2 years. At the time, I said that I'd be comfortable flying on a 737 MAX. I said, this has got to be the most scrutinized plane of all time, so it must be safe. That's what I said, and now this. Turn around. Turn around is a phrasal verb with a few different meanings, but we'll focus on one meaning here. Turn around means to change the direction something is facing, usually 180 degrees, so that it's facing the opposite way. It's very common to use turn around in the context of transportation. Walking, driving a car, riding a bike, even going on an airplane. These are all times when you might use turn around. We have to turn around. This is the kind of thing you say when you're lost and you know you're going the wrong way. If you're in the car and you suddenly realize that you're going in the wrong direction, you have to stop and turn around. That means point your car in the opposite direction. It doesn't mean turn left. It doesn't mean turn right. It means go in the opposite direction. If you're driving on a highway and you miss your exit, or if you're driving on a main road and you miss your turn, or you accidentally pass the house or business you were going to, what do? You turn around and go back. You can say, we missed our exit. I'll look for a safe place to turn around. Sometimes you have to turn around even if you're not lost. If a tree has fallen in the street and you can't continue on that street, or if there is police activity or fire trucks blocking your way, you have to turn around and go the other direction. Go back the way you came. Have you ever been on an airplane that had to turn around and go back to the original airport? There's nothing more frustrating. That has happened to me. It can happen if a passenger gets sick. It can happen if there's an equipment problem. It can happen if there's bad weather at your destination. That's what happened to me one time. The pilot came on and said, "I'm sorry, the weather is too bad at our destination. We can't land there. That airport is closed. We have to turn around and go back." That was annoying. But that was less annoying than what happened to passengers on Alaska Airlines Flight 1292. They got up to an altitude of 16,000 feet, and a part blew off the fuselage, opening a huge hole in the side of the plane. The pilot, you have to give him credit for this. The pilot calmly descended and turned the plane around. The plane then landed at the same airport it took off from. These examples were about movement, but turnaround can be something you do without moving too. For example, Turn around is a term you can use when talking about your body. Have you ever gone to meet someone in a crowded place and you call them and you can see that person, but they can't see you? You're behind them. You're walking toward your friend. You're on the phone. Your friend says, I can't see you. Where are you? You say, turn around. That means rotate your body 180 degrees so you're facing the opposite direction. Turn around and you'll see me. Some of you are school teachers. If you're standing in the front of the room and you see the back of a student's head, that's not good. What happened? The student turned around to talk to the person behind him or her. This is not what you want, right? So you can say, hey, turn around and pay attention. That means rotate your body back so that you're facing the front of the room. By the way, turn around is a very common phrasal verb to mean change strategy. We can talk about that another time, but for now, we're at the end of the episode for Monday, February 13th, 2024. Remember, the full transcript is available at plainenglish.com/648. That is thanks to JR, and we will be back on Thursday with a new episode. See you then.